So you have type 2 diabetes and you've heard from a friend or a family member or maybe from a rumor on the internet that you can reverse your type 2 diabetes with just a few simple changes in your diet. That's actually true. It's not just a rumor. And in this video, I'm going to tell you 5 easy steps that you can start today to reverse your type 2 diabetes within the next few months. I'm Dr. Ken Berry, a family physician with over 20 years of clinical experience, and it's time to reverse your type 2 diabetes. But first, let's get some misconceptions out of the way. First and foremost, I'm not about to try to sell you anything in this video. You can do this for free. You don't need to buy anything from me or click on any links or do any of that stuff to absolutely reverse your type 2 diabetes and keep it reversed for the rest of your life. You don't need to buy any products whatsoever. You don't need any prescription medications, either pills or insulin injections, to reverse your type 2 diabetes. One more misconception or myth or lie that you may have been told, you may have even been told this by your doctor or your dietitian, is that type 2 diabetes is a chronic progressive condition that you're stuck with for the rest of your life that's just going to keep getting worse and worse. This is absolutely not true. And I'm in the process of renaming this condition, and we're going to start calling it chronic carbohydrate overdose syndrome. And because when you call it that, it takes away the mystery. Oh, I have type 2 diabetes. I don't know why. It must be genetic, maybe I don't know. Maybe I was born on the wrong day of the week. No, it's none of that. You have type 2 diabetes because of chronic carbohydrate overdose syndrome. That's what it is. And so also the hint to reversing it is actually now in the name. And so that makes it much easier for just regular people to comprehend what's going on and also immediately see the solution for type 2 diabetes. Having type 2 diabetes is not your fault, but it absolutely is your problem. And so you need to pay careful attention to these 5 easy steps, maybe write them down, maybe watch this video a second time so that you can do this yourself at home for free. There are a few simple lab tests that you can get ordered, not only to find out how bad your type 2 diabetes is right now, but so you can actually see those numbers go down over time and know that you are having a meaningful impact on your type 2 diabetes, that you are in fact reversing it. I'm going to tell you what those labs are, but first I'm going to tell you the 5 easy steps that you can use to reverse your type 2 diabetes. Step number 1 is you need to stop all sugars, whether added sugars or naturally occurring sugars. And so obviously anything that has added sugar, either that you added or that the big food manufacturer added the sugar to, you need to stop eating those things. They're not really food. They're products that are made in a factory that you're then convinced that are food. And they're going to spike your blood sugar, which is going to raise your insulin, and you will never, ever reverse your type 2 diabetes eating these things. Number 2 is you've got to stop eating all grains. Now, the most common culprits are wheat, corn, oats, and rice. These are the big guys, but really any grain is going to be too high in carbohydrates. Now, you obviously, as a type 2 diabetic, you know that if you eat sugar, your blood sugar goes up. And then your pancreas has to deal with that. But what you may not know, what many people don't know, is that any grain, rice, oats, wheat, corn, amaranth, millet, quinoa, any of these, they convert immediately into sugar. Even before you swallow them, the amylase, which is an enzyme in your mouth, starts to break down the starches into sugar in your mouth before you even swallow them. So by the time they get to your stomach, they've turned into what they really are, which is sugar. Step 3 is to remove all vegetable oils from your diet. Canola oil, soybean oil, sunflower, safflower, peanut oil, corn oil, cottonseed oil. All of these guys are inflammatory in nature. They have a very high omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, but they also oxidize very rapidly when you cook with them and also in your body. And many authorities, many experts believe that they also contribute to the pathology or the pathophysiology that ultimately leaves you with type 2 diabetes. Step 4 is to include lots of fatty meat in your diet. Fat and protein don't raise your blood sugar any meaningful degree. They also don't raise your insulin level to any meaningful degree. So you can get away with eating lots of fatty meat, which is fat and protein, plus tons of vitamins and minerals, because meat is full of those. And you're not going to be raising your blood sugar or your insulin in a pathological manner. Step 5 is to get any carbohydrates you do eat from above ground, non-starchy vegetables, okay? Some people can reverse their type 2 diabetes by eating 100 total grams or less each day. Some people have to tighten this up more and eat only 50 total grams of carbohydrates each day. Some people like me have to eat 20 total grams a day or even less to reverse and keep their type 2 diabetes reversed. It may sound like torture right now for you to eat a low carbohydrate diet like this, but I promise you the true torture comes later in life if you continue to allow your type 2 diabetes to exist and to get worse. That's when the true torture will begin. Just ask any type 2 diabetic who's been type 2 for 30 or 40 years and you'll understand what true torture is. Keep in mind, these 5 easy steps, they work for pre-diabetes as well, and they'll also help type 1 diabetics be able to use much, much less insulin, therefore saving lots of money, and it'll also allow a type 1 diabetic to have a normal hemoglobin A1C. That's a lab test. Now, since I brought up lab tests, let me tell you about the lab tests that you need to ask your doctor for so that you can monitor how well you're doing on the journey of reversing your type 2 diabetes. You want a fasting glucose for sure. You also want a hemoglobin A1C. That's going to give you a 3-month average of what your blood sugar's been doing. Many doctors stop right there, and they don't realize that having chronically high insulin levels is just as bad and just as unhealthy and just as pathological as having a chronically high blood sugar level. So you're also going to get a C-peptide and a fasting insulin checked. These are going to tell you if you're eating low carb enough to completely reverse your type 2 diabetes and to keep it in remission or to keep it reversed or to keep it cured. However you want to say it, I think that if you reverse your type 2 diabetes, you've earned the right to call it whatever you want to call it. Using these 5 easy steps, many people can reverse their type 2 diabetes in a month or 2 months. Some people who have been type 2 diabetic for longer or who have a harder time giving up all the carbohydrates might take 2 to 6 months to completely reverse their type 2 diabetes. But when you understand that type 2 diabetes is actually just chronic carbohydrate overdose syndrome, you'll understand. And so if your A1C gets better as you cut the carbohydrates, but it doesn't go all the way back to normal, because that's my goal for you. My goal for you is for you to have a hemoglobin A1C of 5.6 or less. I don't even want you to be pre-diabetic. I want you to have a normal A1C and a normal C-peptide. That is the sweet spot where you're truly healthy and the possibility of having a long health span and a long lifespan are within your grasp. I have hundreds of videos on this YouTube channel that will help you reverse your type 2 diabetes. If you love veggies and you want to include some in your diet, then check out my Keto 101 playlist. I'll put a link either here or here at the end of this video. If you would just be happy eating meat and eggs and cheese and nothing else, then check out my Carnivore 101 playlist. If you eat low carbohydrate enough on either one of these, you're going to reverse your type 2 diabetes. And you're in the process, you're going to actually improve other conditions that I'm not going to go into on this video. But I have other videos on this channel about other medical conditions that get better when you eat what I consider to be a low carbohydrate, proper human diet. If you'd like to join my army of little Davids who are fighting the huge Goliaths of big food and big pharma, then consider becoming a patron. There's a Patreon link down below. It's a quick sign up. You can throw $1 or $2 my way so that I have more time and resources to make videos just like this to help other people understand you can reverse many of the chronic medical diseases that you thought you were stuck with for life. This is Dr. Berry. I'll see you next time.